Shirley, China-Taiwan tensions have been simmering for decades now without ever really boiling over. But are you seeing anything that suggests that could be changing?
Yes, the tension, of course, has really escalated this year in terms of show of force. And the most recent $2.4 billion arms sales is worrying a lot of people because since 1979, this is the first package to be sold, which includes cruise missiles that could be carried by F-16 fighter jets. It's characterized as offensive weapons by some. But I would say the big worry is that the gap between Beijing and Taipei is growing so fast that, well, any package of this sort really is primarily defensive, and it's a deterrent to avoid any escalation. But the situation is changing quickly, and I would say for two reasons. One is Beijing is coming quickly to see the reality as it is, which is that most Taiwanese and the Taiwanese government maintain Taiwan is separate, but is not, I wouldn't say that it is moving towards any sign of declaring formal independence. But from Beijing's point of view, they have now drawn the line to be of a lower threshold. This time when they protested against the arms sale, they said that they wouldn't tolerate any separatists. This is not a word they have often used in the past. And this means that if you just maintain or describe Taiwan as a separate place, this would cross the line. So that's worrisome. But the second thing that is more worrying than war is the fact that fighters and bombers are crossing the median line in the Taiwan Strait, entering the air defense identification zone of Taiwan every day, nearly. And so what Beijing may be planning is perhaps peaceful but involuntary unification.
Yes, so we've seen the package of arms sales changing to include an offensive capability, the language from Beijing changing to include the word separatism, these crossings of the line that you describe. And we also have an image from September 29, a satellite image showing a full-scale replica of Taiwan's presidential office building and others in Mongolia for the purposes of military exercises. So what does that tell us about the chances of invasion? Does that look a little chilling to you?
Yes, it looks chilling, but as I said, to be more effective, I think possibility of war is still quite remote because Beijing is quite busy on many fronts. But a lot of people are worried that during the chaos of the U.S. presidential election, Beijing may use the opportunity. But what opportunity is it? Well, it's, I think, more likely that Beijing is using this show of force with drills involving amphibious landing to intimidate the Taiwanese or Taiwan to think that they have no choice, or to add to it blockade or economic sanction to force some kind of result without actually escalating it.
President Trump has elevated Taiwan's status during his 4 years. What can we expect in the next 4 years? And what about a potential Biden presidency?
Well, like most people, it's hard to sleep waiting for next week. As you probably have seen, there are more Taiwanese who support Trump than Biden in one recent poll. But that's, of course, because Trump has prioritized Taiwan. And as you said, Sherry, really trying to upgrade Taiwan and enhance Taiwan's international status, which a lot of, especially young Taiwanese, really, really want to see. However, I think Biden is going to focus on one area that's really different than Trump, and that is to enhance relationship with partners and allies. And in that way, I think Biden will be much more sympathetic to Taiwan's China dilemma, the name of my last book, which is like any other Asian country or many countries outside of Asia, that the increasingly Taiwan's economic future will be connected with China, and China will be a big part of Taiwan's economy, while Taiwan still relies on the United States for a security guarantee. And Biden, being more sophisticated and more sympathetic to this dilemma, will likely perhaps decouple with China in a way that wouldn't make Taiwan and Taiwanese companies unintended victims of this process that is hurting so many caught in between.
And of course, we know what's happening in Hong Kong, with China even becoming more assertive there. What are the implications of what's happening in Hong Kong for Taiwan?
So I'm in Taipei today, teaching at National Zhengzhou University, a short course. And in our building where I teach, from wall to wall, there are posters that said, "We fight along the Hong Kong people." And today's Hong Kong cannot be tomorrow's Taiwan. The Taiwanese are really very alarmed about what's happening in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is not a very good story in terms of Beijing's soft power and propaganda in trying to get to the hearts and minds of the Taiwanese people. But in Hong Kong, I've lived there for 30 years, and it's excruciating to see a government that is so unresponsive to people's discontent. And if that situation continues, it's going to be even harder for the Taiwanese people to buy into the unification campaign. But in terms of Hong Kong, I think the verdict is still out as to what the national security law really means. While the private sector seems to be unaffected, I think everyone's prepared for with some contingency plan in case there is further repression. But in terms of academia and civil society, everyone is already very, very worried.